This is Holding Left Edge with Christian and Simon.
Nice.
Sexual.
We're going.
We are back again.
Good evening. Welcome to episode 6 of Holding Left Edge with me, Simon. This is Christian.
Hello.
And also in podcast land, for those that can't see us in podcast land, that are listening in podcast land, John Cresswell of Instagram superstardom.
Not just Instagram. Look at his background. YouTube fame as well.
How you doing, John?
Christian. Good to see you guys. I'm not sure about YouTube fame. I'm a small channel in a big ocean.
Small channel in a big.
Hang on a minute. Hang on. How many followers have you got now?
My mum, you, Simon. 4.8k.
Mate, I mean, that's impressive. How long have you been running your channel for?
So I started back in 2019. So
Yeah.
It's taken a while to get off the ground, but I think getting a bit of traction, which is lovely.
I'm on 300 and something, so there's hope for me yet.
What, YouTube's?
Yeah.
YouTube's. It's double OBS at the end, isn't it?
Actually, you're on 438.
Oh, am I?
Oh, okay.
All right.
Good work.
165
165 of them and me. For those that are wondering what we're doing, where we are, we're at the shop. We've had to do a last minute move, haven't we? Because we were struggling with all sorts. It's like a building site in here. Nothing works at the moment, but eventually we'll get there. But it means we're nearest to the roll shut, so we can smoke. We've wanted to get John on for a while. John is those that know him, is one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet. But John's a very what's what I'm looking for, John. Nice guy. John's very active when it comes to social media, and social media is massive in what we do now. If we're going to try and promote anything, including a sport or anything. And for me, I've seen lots of people try to do social media and not do it very well, or to try it and fall foul of it. So we were dead keen to speak to John, who is, in fairness, been really, really active on social media. Just for those people out there that are getting into it, who might think, well, how do I find that foothold in social media? What do I need to look out for, and all those things? And I think it'll just be a really interesting thing for us to talk about, hopefully helpful to people listening. For those that don't know you, John, who've not had the absolute privilege of meeting you and spending time with you, do you want to tell us a bit about yourself and your background and how you come to where you are now while I smoke my pipe?
I don't know. How long have you got, and how deep do you want me to go? I'll talk about the shooting. I'll talk about the shooting sort of world. So for those of you who don't know me, I did 17 years in the Marines, which is where I was actually winding back. So I guess I first started shooting when I was in the cadets. I don't that might be a familiar story with a lot of other people. So back then, I don't know, there seemed to be a little bit more relaxed. So I'd be shooting 303 Lee Enfield, Bren guns, all the fun stuff, actually.
The good old days.
Which I don't think they're allowed to now. So we did a lot of that. So that was brilliant fun. Then that kind of inspired me to join the Marines. So I joined the Marines, obviously, shot a lot of the kind of the service rifles and things that were, in the Marines at the time. I then, so after the Marines, I got a commission in the Navy. I didn't really get to do much shooting in that area. But what I did do is I started getting interested in like the civilian kind of shooting world. But it wasn't really until I did a trip over to America. So my was my half brother over in America. I got to go to the range with him. It was pretty much open his cabinet, take what you want, let's go down the range. And that inspired me to get into shooting in a reasonably big way. So that was 2019. I managed to get my eventually got my license after going through probation and everything. Obviously, you have to join Home Office approved clubs, go through probation, etc. And then it was lockdown. So that's when I started. That's when I started doing the YouTube, because I couldn't get out and do as much shooting as I wanted to. Nobody could do anything, could they? So it was kind of yeah, that's kind of how I got into the YouTube and the shooting social media, really trying to live my life through the social media side of it when I couldn't get out in lockdown. So that's kind of where it started, I guess.
In terms of your shooting then, so what sort of shooting did you do and do you do now?
Did I do so? I started doing practical shotgun, and I love practical shotgun. For anybody who hasn't tried it, it's absolutely awesome. So when you first start and you don't get and you haven't got a section 1 on your license, you'll probably end up using like a 2+1 semi-auto. Or you can do some crazy things like Bob over at range 23, who I've seen him using a side-by-side shotgun on a practical shotgun. Hat off to Bob, honestly. What a dude. Yeah, that's awesome. But yeah, practical shotgun and mini rifle, that's kind of where I started. And then I got into precision rifle, sort of following that, and then 2.2. That's kind of how that's progressed.
And in terms of that, I'll use the word picked up. It's probably, I'm doing you a disservice there. You found yourself aligned to a couple of brands, a couple of manufacturers who, for me being completely blunt, like I always will be with people in podcasts I expect me to be, was because you were going about it in a certain way. You weren't particularly showy, and you can be as modest as you want now. But you were just getting the hours in, getting the trigger time in, dry firing, all those drills. I remember you doing drills through COVID inside and setting targets up inside. I remember the crazy days of COVID. Do you want to tell us a bit about the brands that you work with?
So Jackal Firearms. You were the first people really first person. I'm talking to you like you're plural, not singular.
I put a bit of weight on. I can be classed as 2 people nowadays, I think.
But no, so you kind of recognized me. I think I'd got one of your t-shirts and I was wearing it at the range, and you'd kind of and I was posting a lot of stuff and going through drills and things, and like I say, I wasn't asking for anything. I was just kind of tagging the people, the gear that I use, and I've always done that. I've always just kind of tagged the things that I use. But yeah, you recognise what you kind of invited me to come on board a bit.
And I think if I could just sort of interject there a sec, we had a real grown-up conversation, didn't we, about where you wanted to go in shooting and where the limits were and what sort of support you needed. And it was, for me, it was my first experience of supporting a shooter. And for you were trying to find where you were going, but you've got a full-time job and life to live and kids and all that stuff. So you were seeing the limits. So I think for me, that was a real experience in understanding what you needed, because I'm not a competitive shooter. My days of shooting competitively, there was no money in it back when I was playing that game. There was no YouTube and Instagram and all that nonsense. You just got at it with what you had. So I think that was quite a healthy conversation we initially had, and then it stimulated my grey matter, what I've got left, into how that can be replicated going on. So sorry, mate, I cut you off in your prime then, but it's important for people to understand that conversation, that you need to have that two-way dialogue with someone. It can't just be let's just send stuff to someone and let them crack on with it. You've got to understand what a shooter needs, how you can support them, and almost tailor something to try and give people that bit of advantage or that bit of assistance that makes it a bit easier. Is that a safe way to put it?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, like I say, 100%. So, but like I say, I really value the support that you've given me over the years. I think it's fantastic, and like I say, it you're helping me to this day. So thank you. I want to say that.
Well, you're welcome. I promise I'm not crying. You're crying.
It's smoky in the room where you are. I'm the only one in this podcast not smoking. Go figure.
You're in your house. We're in a commercial premises. We get away with it, and I intentionally moved somewhere with no smoke alarms. Brilliant.
Oh, brilliant. No, and then through the work that I was doing on social media, again, like I say, just tagging products that I use. So you're wearing a t-shirt, but Vortex Optics. You can't see. But no, Vortex Optics UK or Country Sports Wholesale kind of recognised some of the work that I was doing. Again, through using their products. So I bought all my own gear and everything, but I was just kind of tagging people in the work that I do. So for those of you who don't know what tagging is, I don't know, you may or may not. That's why you put like the little @ symbol, and you can kind of tag manufacturers or people on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, etc. So that's what I was doing, and like I say, I'm really fortunate enough to be still working with them.
And you do a lot with Vortex. They're a great brand. We could talk about Vortex for a whole podcast. We won't. And from there,
this is about, is it? So
well, from there, you found yourself out shooting. Now you're running. Were you running a CZ?
I was running a CZ22, but
Yeah.
before I even got into the 22, that's when I, if you like, was fortunate enough to start working with Victrix. So again, one of my colleagues, one of my friends at the range, he had a media business, and he had a slow motion camera that went down to like 1.1 million frames per second. So we thought it'd be quite cool to do some filming of muzzle brakes and bullets coming out of the barrel. Also a few sort of exploding targets, so melons, shooting at melons, just things that were quite cool fun. So yeah, we did some filming, and he had a Victrix rifle, so we were filming a 375 Shaytac, shooting melons, which was quite cool.
What's not to love?
Exactly.
I remember the video actually. I mean, it was pretty impressive. It was a good video to watch.
Well, thanks. Well, I think what was quite cool is you could literally see the bullet rotating out of the barrel.
Yeah.
Yeah. Amazing camera. And yeah, the CEO at Victrix saw that video, and I think he was quite impressed. And they were designing some new muzzle brakes and things. So I worked with them. I basically asked if he could send a prototype over, and we could do some sort of R&D and things for them. So we did, we worked with them to help get some footage of this muzzle brake, so that they could see what the gases were doing, and give their designers some edge. Yeah, and that's kind of where that sort of relationship started, really.
And then you found yourself in the fortunate position of being supported by Victrix.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm not a Victrix sponsored shooter or anything like that. But yeah, they do support me. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're running a Victrix Gladio in 308, God's Caliber.
Yeah.
You're also running a lovely little Victrix. What's it called? The 22 you've got.
So it's a Venus Pro, Victrix Venus Pro. It's their small bore. But what's quite nice, a little bit like the Bagara, they all share the same footprint. So if you wanted to, you can swap the chassis between the rifles and things. So I could, if you like, I could convert my 308. Well, I could put my 308 barrel on my 22 chassis and vice versa. So you can basically create it so that you've got a bit of a training rifle.
Yeah. And for those that don't know about Victrix, I've described it as a Lamborghini of rifles. They're not a company that makes a lot of rifles, but they make them to an incredibly high spec. There's no surprise that a lot of military contracts fulfilled by Victrix. And whenever I used to see back in the day before social medias, things like the Charlie Tarracks coming out, all the Prism optics, and they were always on high-end Victrix being used in the fields. There's lots of platforms out there. Barrett get a lot of space within the military world, but Victrix have got a very interesting place, I think, within the shooting world. They're a very serious bit of kit, is probably the best way I can put it. Small company as well, small family company, aren't they?
Yeah, and I mean, they're all based out of they have an engineering workshop in Bergamo in Italy. Like super, really nice, friendly bunch. I had the pleasure of going out there, so I got to kind of see it firsthand. And literally, they do everything in that factory from cradle to grave. So they've got their all their R&D. So they do all the design and everything in there. They manufacture all the components of the rifle, so everything's built in-house. And then they do all the quality control. Literally, I mean, I was amazed by. So there was a piece that was on this like micrometer or something. There's probably another Gucci name for it. But they had a test bed with this bit of equipment on this little tiny piece. And when I kind of looked at the schematics, that little piece was the bit that holds the monopod on. And you've got this, and you've got this little tiny needle that's measuring the tolerances on about like 10 of these points around this thing, just to, so the attention to detail. I was blown away by it. But yeah, I mean, I guess their USP is they're building custom rifles, but those rifles are, like custom match grade kind of rifles, but they're all built in one factory, and they're manufactured to order as well. So,
wow, yeah.
So you've had quite a bit of experience dealing with sizable manufacturers. I think one of the things we spoke about what we're looking to achieve in this podcast is for people out there that might be looking to get into the shooting world, looking to try and gain some support from a manufacturer. What sort of things, when you're producing your material, your videos, your Instagram posts and stuff like that, what are these manufacturers looking for in your experience?
Honesty, I think is the first thing. So, talking about the gear that you're using, what works, what doesn't work. I mean, nobody, correct me if I'm wrong, but nobody wants to watch a review or hear a review where you're just saying everything's amazing. There's going to be something on that platform or with that piece of equipment that could be better, or I know it goes through a big R&D thing, but there's always something on there that could be better. So again, it's just being honest about, like, when you're using it, I think this is great, but this is the limitation. It's not a massive thing. So I guess so. Like, one thing on one of my videos where you talk about Victrix as an example, the folding stock on the 2.2, it folds better round to the left than it does round to the right, in the fact that it will get in the way of the bolt. Not that you ever run the bolt with the stock folded, but it's just not designed for that. So for me, I find it easier having it round to the left. Just silly little things like that, really.
But you're doing R&D for them then, aren't you? That's the beauty of it. And we've had conversations with people in terms of the amount of R&D that people are doing out in the field, because you can't replicate that you can't replicate those dirty days at pro shoot in the dust in a factory in Bergamo. And that honesty, that sort of maintain your integrity whilst being fortunate enough to be gifted something, is quite a hard thing to do. I mean, I've recently had a conversation with an importer about some rifles that they're keen for me to be using, and I've had to be quite honest and say, until I've had the hours behind them, I can't tell you whether I like it or not. And I think if you're just like a fanboy, I just want to run off with it and everything's great, everything's awesome, you'll very soon come unstuck, won't you? I mean, Christian's an ideal one for this, because the work you do with Vigara, without speaking out of turn, the amount of feedback you've given them in relation to how things can be improved, it's worth their time just for that, even if they're not getting media exposure for it. It's safe to say that honesty with a company that you're working with, I think, is so important.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, just talking about the Vigara example, every member of the pro team were given a form specifically for feedback, and it's not just for our own feedback. It's also whenever we hear feedback from other end users, fill in the form, send that through to head office, and they review it and have a look at that when they're working through their research and development. So I should imagine Victrix, Vortex, whoever it is, if they've got something about them, they'll understand that feedback is vitally important. And
I think that's the key, being a grown-up when you're doing it, because for some people, we see a lot of internet keyboard warriors who are quick to slag off certain brands or criticize things unnecessarily, whether it's because they're trying to get the clickbait and they want people to listen to the horror story that they're telling people. But I think sometimes this is why it's so important, I think, to be working with the right people in both directions. A company that wants to work with you to get that feedback, but also a company that acknowledges that they've got the right person, the right nut behind the butt, who gets it. I see a lot of companies who have gone from great things to not so great things because they've just taken their eye off that ongoing R&D. You know, manufacturer that I used to point people at and say, oh yeah, if you're getting that, you've got to go to this brand. Their quality's just dropped off. And that's can only be because they're not maintaining that constant evolution of the next thing that's coming out and getting the right feedback from people, and perhaps listening to the wrong people in the same breath. That's a really important relationship.
The other thing is, like you say, with the people putting up videos and pictures. So again, something that was sort of said to me on one of the conversations I've had with them was around. So like on my 22, you won't have a picture on here, but you'll notice that on the buttstock, instead of having a flat buttstock, it's slightly raised just underneath the cheek piece, because all of the photos that they saw, they noticed that people had like the cheek piece up quite high, so they've factored that in and they've changed the design to be able to sort of accommodate that. So I think it is those, you know, like say the field testing of equipment, because you know, probably 9 times out of 10, when you release a version 1 of something, you're then, you know, you're going to get some user feedback. There's going to be a version 1.1 coming out quite soon. I mean, just look at, I don't know, iPhones or whatever, when they release their latest, release, and probably about a week or 2 later, you've got an update.
Yeah.
You know, so similar kind of concept.
And I think as well, the place you get your feedback from, and speaking to you as being ex-military, the military is one of the worst places to get feedback from, because you're told, here's your rifle, you're going to use it, you're going to love it. I'm not listening to you moaning about the fact that this is going on. I don't care it's too heavy. I don't care this, I don't care that. And the military just use things hard. Nothing really evolves. The SA8s will tell you nothing really evolves in the military. Whereas the business we're in, people are using these things in a frequency probably higher than some of the military sharpshooters are using. You've probably put more rounds through a Gladio than some of the Italian SF lads who are using Gladios on a regular basis. So I find it fascinating, and that's why for some people, they need to understand how important it is that social media works with manufacturers to try and maintain that level of information flowing backwards and forwards. And that's how people get enthused and potentially buy a rifle, which is what it's all about. Let's not kid ourselves. People make manufacture rifles to sell them. It's not a charity.
No, but I think the social media world at the moment is changing. I don't know if you guys have noticed it. So, you know, I know that I've had posts that have had restrictions on them. And again, not through doing anything different than I've been doing before, but I think that there's a lot of automated going on. And I think even Garan Thumb, I think I saw on his account, was suspended the other day. So, you know, he's got like 405 million. He starts looking at his sheet. 405 million subscribers on his YouTube. You know, and he's got I don't know however many sort of thousands or million on Instagram and things as well. So I think it's a tough sport to be kind of promoting, because it's not always looked at in the right light.
Yeah, and as those, we've all experienced those challenges with social media censorship. Has that changed the way that you've approached your interactions on social media? Is there anything that you're doing differently now as a result of that?
I think you have to kind of keep up with the changes in the community guidelines. So Instagram, Facebook, they're all kind of owned by Meta. So as and when things happen, things change, they do end up updating their community guidelines. So if you are doing social media, that's just something you just need to bear in mind, because they can also look at posts and things that you've done previously. So you have to be quite careful. You know what
is that retrospective review of. I've had that happen to me. Things that I've posted 2-3 years ago have fallen foul of some new rules. and have been removed as a result.
I find it as a business. You know, my Instagram activities changed significantly in the last 18 months. I'm very rarely able to put a photograph of a firearm on now before I get a shadow ban across everything, including my medical page gets hit as well. There's a lot of RFDs are struggling to sell things on the internet now. Because
so Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram basically have got no firearm sales. So Instagram, they basically say no buying or selling, and that basically prohibits the advertisement, sale, exchange of firearms and certain accessories. So there may be certain accessories like if you're selling like high capacity magazines. So a 12-round mag here is fine. You go to California or wherever, then it's illegal to have something over 10 rounds. So, and I'm sure there are other places that are similar.
Sorry, California won't sue us. You're all right. You can slag California off all you want. I mean, the other side as well is if you're running a business, you're also up against PayPal, who have a similar policy when it comes to firearms ammunition. A lot of website providers now that won't let you advertise live sale of firearms, clicking on things. A lot of RFDs that I know have had to get really creative, dropping, like, for those that know about the internet, dropping like WordPress pages in that aren't interactive. It's just a data sheet so that they don't breach the terms and conditions of their website. So they're making it difficult for us. It's safe to say. I mean, I've seen since X has come about, since Elon Musk took over Twitter, that seems a much safer place to talk about Second Amendment stuff, and we'll call it that for the benefit of everyone in podcast land. But even so, you're also up against a lot of the freedom of speech stuff on there as well, and there's lots of crazy people on X. So it's a fishing hole for those who are completely against shooting sports. And I've had it firsthand where I know people that have been challenged online about something they've said, and it just spirals out of control, becomes personal. They start using the personal social media to attack them away from whatever firearms related business or activity they're involved in. To that extent, I mean, we've talked about censorship and what have you. What platforms are you using successfully then, and in what sort of frequencies? Where are you doing the most of your work now?
Define success, Simon.
Successfully, not getting banned or having the police, what is it called, swatted, they do in the States, not having the police turn up at your house to take shiny things off you.
I haven't had the SWAT round recently, so I must be doing okay. He says, just checking the windows, waiting for them to swing in. Instagram and Facebook have kind of been my staples, and that's kind of where I've started. However, I did a post the other day actually, because so one of the things that Facebook says is like purchase, sale, trade firearms, ammunition, explosives, blah, but that also includes ammunition components such as bullets, bullet tips, casing, gunpowder, primers, shotgun shells. So I did a post of some bullets, literally bullet heads, and I was really looking forward to getting these reloaded. So, you know, I'm not selling them; they're mine. They're for my own personal use. And I was just saying these are the ones that I'm using for reloading. And yeah, now my page is not recommended, which basically means that only people who follow me can see my content. So it's a bit mean. I did challenge it. And then the actual icon is like a gavel, and it basically said upheld for 3 months. It's like, oh wow, okay. So is that me in Facebook jail? That might be me in Facebook jail.
And for you, John, that must be massively frustrating, because you said at the beginning of this podcast that you started doing the whole social media stuff really just for something to do while you weren't out shooting during lockdown. I mean, anybody who knows you knows that you do the social media because you're passionate about doing social media and engaging with people and connecting with people. Yeah. And you find yourself in a situation now. I'm in the exact same situation. I got into it for pleasure. And, you know, I find it massively frustrating that my accounts can't be recommended. And, you know, I used to enjoy seeing my followers increase over time, and it's just stagnated. I mean, I got to 5,000 Instagram followers 9 months ago, something like that. And today I dropped down to 4,999, and then I went up to 5,000.
Because I'm
just.
I unfolded you late. That's what it was.
I'm just.
No.
It's massively frustrating that what you enjoy doing and sharing it with people, people aren't seeing it now because of this censorship.
And I think the hard thing for us is we're it's in a safe environment. Whenever we're at the range or at comps, that footage, there's safety officers. It's within, it's a signed off range with insurance, all the good stuff.
Legal.
Yeah, but so yeah,
not doing anything wrong.
Well, I had the thing with Facebook. I actually challenged Facebook and I said, I'm an RFD, licensed and insured and all that up to the absolute eyeballs. I'm advertising a product I'm lawfully allowed to sell in this country. I'm not exporting anything. And the response I got back was it was clearly a generic one. And it's safe to say that they don't have to care, so they don't. What's frustrating is you see how quickly other brands can grow. So I know I've got a few friends who've got relatively new clothing brands who are able to promote their posts, pay for sponsored posts to go to people that aren't currently looking at them. And these companies are growing exponentially.
Yeah, so we can't. I haven't done any of. I've never paid for any like subs or any promotions or anything like that. And I think at some stage, I can't remember what it was. Facebook or Instagram said, "Oh, you can get like a 1 day or 2 days free paid promotion or something." But they wouldn't let me do it on any of my stuff because it's.
So they told you could do it, and then they said you can't do it. That's good of them.
Well,
yeah,
I could do it if I posted pictures of my puppy or kittens and stuff like that. But that's kind of although I did post my puppy on the picture today, that's not generally what my stuff is about, right? So yeah, so and that's not my niche, if you like. So
are we seeing a gap here? We're looking at precision rifle kittens then. Is that how you get ahead in the market?
I think maybe, yeah, there's a market.
Precision kitten shooting. I don't know whether it is. There's clearly something there.
So about the same time that this censorship was really starting to ramp up on Instagram and Facebook was when I decided to focus more on my YouTube channel and try and put more content out on there. And and I have seen my following increase very, very slowly, but everybody tells me that's usually the case with YouTube, that it does grow more slowly than some of the other social media followings. Are you sort of glad that you got in there early with the YouTube piece? Because YouTube does seem to be a safer space.
I agree. I think YouTube is a safer space. Whether I got in there earlier or not, I don't know. I was listening to another podcast today, and they were talking about why they were inspired to create a channel, and this was back in like 2017, and they'd kind of given up YouTube because they thought actually it's saturated, wouldn't be able to do it. But then there was this one guy on there. He's like, in 1 year, I got 10,000 subscribers on his channel, and he's like, well, actually, if you can do that, then I can. So he'd kind of set himself some goals, and I think the thing is, it depends what your motivation for doing it is. Like I say, I started because I was kind of wanting to promote shooting sports. I want to get people into shooting. I wanted to be able to kind of share what I was doing, the drills, all that good stuff, talk about the comps. So that that's why I was doing it, and like gear reviews, talking about the gear that I use. But like I say, it really depends what your kind of strategy is, I guess.
And strategy is massive. There's companies out there that make a living from providing you with a social media strategy. I think most of those people would probably run for the hills if they were asked to represent a shooting entity, be it a business or an individual. I mean, what we've established here is that, I think you said it before, YouTube is mean. Mean is the word I think we'll focus on. It's safe to say that it's mean. No, Facebook is mean. You said someone's mean. All right, I don't like Instaface. Instaface is mean, we'll say, because there's no such thing as Instaface. They can't sue us. Moving away from that, in terms of if you're out there and you're thinking about social media and getting into it, and I can think of a few people who got into recently. Jamie Clay is doing a great job. of putting really interesting really interesting product out there, well edited, well put together, it looks good and all that sort of stuff. If people are out there thinking about that, what sort of kit do those people need? So when you're producing this stuff, what sort of physical kit are you using?
So I can be brutally honest. I still film most of my stuff on an iPhone. You know, the iPhones these days have got amazing cameras on. So you can get away with like filming on like the front camera or the back camera. So on the front camera on an iPhone at the moment. Sound is a big thing. I had been using some little, I think they're like £35 on Amazon. You can get little tiny wireless mics. I gave them to you actually, Christian, at the last match.
Thanks for that, mate.
Welcome.
I think we use them now, yeah.
But yeah, you plug that in the bottom of your iPhone, and then you've got like one or two mics depending what you want, and they've even got like noise cancelling, so they were pretty good. I kind of thought buy once, cry once, and I got myself some DJI mics, so like the new Mic 2s. They're super expensive, but I think the big things for anything on social media is video quality, because if it's pixelated or blurry or the lighting's bad or whatever, then it's not going to go anywhere. And sound, people they need to be able to hear what you're saying. So if you're and again, some of my videos are not that great because like I'll be on a range and you've got the wind, so you can hear all the wind stuff. But that was like before, when I had literally just a like camera and it was just blowing through the mic. So a lot of new stuff has got he says tapping it, that's probably really annoying. Yeah. But a lot of the new stuff has got like windshields and things on it now, which does cut out the noise, and you can noise cancel on them. And there's also, depending on what editing software you've got as well, you can edit, you can noise cancel out and just keep the speech range.
But what we do with the shooting, because we're outdoors, it's quite dynamic, you're in all weathers. I think finding kit that is convenient to use and performs, and also performs in those environments is it's very difficult to get that right. And I see some of the what I would class as the more, well, no, let's call them what they are, professional content producers, and they'll go out on hunting trips up mountains and across deserts and everything, and you know, they're producing some amazing footage. They've got millions of followers. They're supported by industry massively, who really use their content to promote their products. And then you've got us guys that are sort of don't have that same level of following, don't have that same quality of output. But I feel like we
as well.
Say again?
And money to spend on the gear, because it's not. So like sorry, I cut you off, didn't I? But like camera wise, I guess I don't just film on the iPhone. I got a what is it? It's a DJI Osmo Pocket, which is like a little gimbal camera. I'm doing that. Gimbal camera. That's the international symbol for gimbal, in case you're wondering. Those of you listening to this won't be able to see it, so you need to watch.
No, they won't have a clue. They won't know that John just moved his hand like a snake. But we'll share that for people like the podcast land.
So that's really cool. If my hands are quite shaky when I do stuff. So if you've got something that's got like image stabilization on it, that's like super helpful, especially if you're doing like moving images and things. The other quite cool thing that I had to save up, but I've only just got is what is it? It's an Instago 3 is what I've got, which is basically like an action camera where you can take the little tiny front portion out and you can wear it on like baseball cap or like a magnetic pendant and things. But basically it gives you like a point of view cam. So I got that because I thought I saw some shotgun stuff and IPSC shooting, and a couple of guys had it there, and I thought actually that looks quite cool. So I thought I'd give that a go. But you can use it for other things as well. But that's kind of
like filming kittens. The other thing that's worth mentioning is post-production. Now, I'm not going to lie to you, I've been humbled a few times by people going off with the mountains of shit that I've produced on the side of a hill. I remember the Teams thing we did for Ryan, and Dean from MFG went off to do all the post-production stuff.
Good,
hours and hours and hours and hours of editing to make something that looks pretty. Because when it comes out of and Christian, I'm fortunate Christian does all this stuff and splices stuff. When we lost John for a few moments down to the internets, Christian will just seamlessly make that look good. And on the last one, he was in Italy and he even put a little technical thing over it. Post-production is massive. What do you use any software for post-production?
So I do. I started off just using the I think it's like Movie Maker or whatever, the one that was free on your iPhone. That's what I started using.
Yeah.
But which is fine when you're starting out and you're kind of just doing basic video editing. Now I still edit on my iPhone, which is probably why my eyesight's becoming terrible. But
John, can I just my turn to interrupt you? Shaky hands, bad eyesight. Are you a good precision rifle shooter, mate?
He knows his kittens though.
You edit in some impacts for me, Christian.
I think me and you are on the same here, mate. I think you're explaining exactly my experience as well.
So where was I? I can't remember. I've lost my train of thought now.
Post-production software. You were saying you went from the iPhone software to something else.
Yes. So I bought LumaFusion. I don't know if anybody's heard of that, but it's like a one-off payment on an app, but I can do all my editing and things on there. And I've got other bits. I'm trying to remember what they're called now because it's on my phone.
We can put the thing. Christian can do that thing where he puts it at the bottom of the thing in the comments on YouTube, so we can add that later on. It's not a problem.
Just some other CapCut. That's another quite cool little. If you're going to be doing like shorts or you've got some like quick editing to do. That's quite cool. That's quite cool little software. Mojo, that's the other app I use, and that's quite cool for making little sort of short videos of pictures. But you can also use it for some video stuff as well. But yeah, I kind of use lots of different things, and I was using an app to help me make thumbnails for YouTube, but that stopped, and now I need to. I think I need to pay for the Adobe one because that does what I need it to do.
Paying for software is an absolute heartbreaker, isn't it?
Well, everything's monthly now as well, isn't it? Or $1 million.
Even my kids, they're playing games on their iPad, and it's like, I need to subscribe to this, Daddy. You didn't need to subscribe to this 12 months ago, or now they've realised people are using it, so let's charge for it. Snapseed was one we used to use back in the day before we took videos, and then Snapseed monetized it, and it's just like everything is just adding up. Good stuff.
So that's kind of the software and bits. The other bits you can do, so you can get like little tiny lights. So I think I got this on Amazon. This is like £30 or something. It does other colours. The other colours are available, but this is kind of like a little key light. So you can buy like a frame. It's called a small rig, but you can buy a frame for your mobile phone, which I've got behind me, which is what my phone is holding in. But there's little sort of like cold shoe mounts on there. I think that's a technical term for them. But all of these have got cold shoe mounts on, so you can put lighting and microphones and all that cool stuff on there. Lighting wise, let's see.
Well, you've got a proper setup, proper studio.
This is just. This is like a spare room, so ignore everything. But yeah,
you've gone to a lot of effort. You've gone to more effort than we have. We've got a roller shutter right halfway up. That's about it.
I've tried, Simon. I've tried. I thought I'll make an effort tonight for you.
One thing I was going to ask is, in terms of making an effort and going forwards, what other platforms are there out there that you've got one eye on, or you're thinking of looking at? I mean, one of the things that's grown massively has been TikTok. Now, I know TikTok by its immediate. The understanding that most people have is it's just idiots doing videos of them eating kebabs and stuff like that. It's not. It doesn't come across as the most wholesome professional. But when a new thing comes along like that, do you take a look at it? Do you sit and look whether there's scope to add another channel or another platform onto what you're already doing?
I think you should. I mean, I've got some top tips if you wanted to. I've got some top
Love a
tips.
top tip. We love a top tip.
And some do's and 10 do's and don'ts as well for YouTube.
Oh, let's do it. Come on, I want to hear you. I'm going to make notes.
I was trying to do some prep for you guys. I just thought it might be useful for other people who've got YouTube channels who are sort of trying, and some of these things are advice that I want to give myself to encourage me to start doing it more as well. So I guess I've got 5 top tips. So the first one would be have a plan. So whether that's having a plan about what you want to do with your channel, what audience are you looking to kind of promote it to, but again, if you're doing a video, don't just hit that record button and stutter and stumble over something and not have an idea in your head about what you want to do.
We call that freestyling in the business.
Or freestyling. Freestyling's cool. I'm rubbish at freestyling. I really am.
Alcohol helps. I mean, my top tip is always have a beer in your hand when you're producing anything on social media. You've got a port. I thought you'd have pulled a port out, but I'm a bit disappointed.
No, this is water, unfortunately. But what's that?
Madry. It's got Eric Cantona on it. It's not Eric Cantona, but I don't know. He said, "Unos cerveza, dos cerveza, por favor." That's my Spanish son.
Amazing.
Sorry, top tips.
No, so that was the first
Stop
one.
interrupting. Come on, top tips.
So first one is have a plan. My second one would be script out a structure of your video. So think about what you want to say and what footage you need to get, because I've done a couple of videos recently, like gear reviews of like some Defender red dots, and I was doing the editing afterwards, and then I was like, I wish I got a good video of that bit, or I wish I got a video of this. So you kind of need to do, I think in the industry they call it B-roll, but you need to have like an A-roll, which is like you doing your chat, you're talking, whatever you're doing, and then your B-roll and C-roll, etc. could be like videos and images of the products that you're using, the features of the product, I don't know, the range, whatever else, other things that are going to add value to that video, make it more interesting for the people watching it. My third tip would be research competition. So what are they doing? Who do you want to be? So as an example, I mean, you talked about UK, US. So in the US, you got Demolition Ranch. Shout out to those guys. One of the many channels that I follow, but 11.7 million subscribers. So they are doing something right. But I think there's a good team of them, and they're going to have like their media is going to be on point. You
said that what the competition are doing. Is it less about the competition and more about who you aspire
peers
to be, like peers? Yeah.
Yes and no. I mean, I've talked about that, but I mean, what I would say is don't try and imitate like a massive, big people out there. So, like T-Rex Arms, Garen Thumb, Impact Shooting, Cyclops videos, all of those sort of big players, because they've been doing it a long time. They've built up their following organically, if you like. And
organically, what wonderful word that is.
Are you aware of who Cyclops is?
Yeah, the guy with an iPad.
Yeah. Oh, my top tip to anybody is don't try and emulate Cyclops.
Fun fact for you: when I started doing my videos, he reached out to me actually.
Wow.
And which was quite cool. And I've had a couple of sort of conversations with him, and he was sort of giving me top tips. So some of those top tips I've kind of put into this to share with you guys. So I'm kind of paying it forward. So thank you, Joe, if you're listening. But yeah, he's like top dude, even though he doesn't always not sell Vortex, but he doesn't always kind of talk about Vortex in the best light. But I forgive you. You're forgiven. But no, like so he gave me some fantastic tips.
Who'd win in an arm wrestle between Cyclops and Chris, though? Because if Chris from CSW, we could settle it with an arm wrestle, couldn't we? I think I know who's going to win.
seen the size of Chris's arm. His arms
exactly.
are the
Yeah, those guns aren't messing about.
Yeah.
Cyclops, you heard it first on the Holding Left Edge podcast. You and Chris from CSW arm wrestle. Let's just get it done, dusted.
It'd make an interesting video, but I'm not. There's geographical space in between.
We can sort that out. The internet, we can fix that with some technical stuff.
Maybe for a later video, then that could be something you do.
Yeah.
But yeah, so research competition and maybe you don't eat an elephant whole, you bite it in chunks. So I've heard. I've never eaten an elephant, but if I was, I'd have to eat it in small pieces. My point with that is look at kind of people or platforms or creators, if you like, that are ahead of you, and see what they're doing, and don't aim too far ahead. What are they doing right? What are they doing wrong? Is there anything that you can kind of learn from them?
Can I add to that? And I apologize if this is going to be one of your tips, but what I found very, very useful is to watch videos, instructional videos from professional media, professional producers of content who aren't necessarily involved in shooting. So they might do other types of content, but they produce some fantastic how-to videos that can really give you good information about the best way to capture B-roll footage, the best way to use lighting, the best way to use sound. And I've found some of those videos to be absolutely invaluable.
100%. So do what Christian said. Do that, because again, I did that. I haven't written that in there, but that is a top tip. So like some of the videos talk about lighting, and if you're going to buy one light, buy a key light, because if you need to kind of illuminate your face, and the subject needs to be bright and focus and things. So if you're going to buy one light, buy a key light. If you're going to buy more, then you can kind of like the green light that's up there. That's they call that a rim light, and that basically is supposed to like illuminate your head and shoulders and separate you from the background. Again, learned this from watching those other videos. Talks about stuff behind you, hence.
We've got some technical crap behind us as well. It's just old cabinets and gazebos and stuff in the corner of the shop. Yeah.
Exactly. So
Well, believe it or not, I'm not going to turn the camera around because I'll never recover it. We do actually have big posh commercial lights behind us.
They're a bit bright, actually.
Christian's done it all. I'm not going to lie. These things in the corner, I feel like I'm on the set of some sort of really, really rubbish movie. But those lot of things, and the other thing as well, when it comes to that kit, there's a big argument for sort of 2 is 1, 1 is none, isn't there? Because when your kit goes down, it's game over. So you've got to have redundancies when you're doing anything. It's in your house in the first place, but especially when you're out in the field. Otherwise, your whole day's filming is gone if your kit fails.
But again, it's budget, and don't see yourself short, because like I say, if you think you're going to make loads of money out of YouTube, unless you're like one of those big players in the US, you're really not at the moment. You know what I mean? And I don't know how many like hundreds of thousands you need to actually make it a viable income. Let's
be blunt about it. Monetization in YouTube isn't there. That's the reason Matt Carricker diversified from Demolition Ranch to On the Ranch and Homestead and all that, building a house and stuff, because he did. I know he made money from Sideways from sponsorship, but he didn't make a penny from any of the YouTube material from Demolition Ranch. And I remember watching him tell a story about why he was diversifying, and how he had tens of millions of followers on YouTube, and it was worthless. And when he started doing videos about how he was going to decorate the spare room in his new house, he was making millions and millions and millions just from that boring shit that people clearly want to watch, that doesn't involve Barrett 50s going off in the middle of a field somewhere.
I don't know. That sounds like a good video to me. Barrett 50.
I'd pay to watch it. Sorry, so you're on your list. Chris will tell me if I've interrupted you again. You're on your list.
I've been interrupting as well.
It's going to be a long video, isn't it? Point 4 is going to be think about how you're going to promote your videos. So like where, when, groups, and that would be if you're on YouTube, let's say, don't just promote your videos on YouTube. So you'll see me. I'll put links on Instagram. I'll put links on Facebook. You can create WordPress sites. You mentioned that, Simon. You can create like X or Twitter or whatever it is today. TikTok you mentioned, you can do, if you can have like links in there to draw people back to whatever is your main platform. So you can do that. So again, just think about where you're going to put things. And then like my last point there was about chat to other creators for tips. And like I say, I was going to give a shout out to Joe. I've already done that. But thanks again, Joe. But yeah, there are other sort of creators and like Neil from Rack and Load as well. I've had some good conversations with him, and I think we did an Insta live a while back. But there'll be people out there who will be more than happy to get involved and help. Like say, I think we're all fighting the same fight, aren't we? And we're all trying to do the same thing, but different. So if you like, the firearms world within the UK is quite a niche market, isn't it? It's quite a small market. So
we're all paddling around in a very small pool over here, so helping each other out and trying not to bump into each other's a really wise tactic to advocate, I think.
Yeah.
You said you had some don't do's.
I haven't even got to my do's yet. Oh,
sorry. Carry on.
No, don't worry. I got excited and wrote loads of stuff.
This is one thing about you, John, and this comes across in all of your content, is that you do put the effort into the pre-thought, the planning, before you actually put that content out there, before you produce it. So I wouldn't expect anything less from you, mate.
I'm normally just reading off the back of a piece of paper that I've scribbled on half an hour beforehand. There's been one occasion when I've come to a podcast more prepared than him, and I didn't let him hear the end of it. I still remind him of it now, in fairness. So that preparation, it's never time wasted putting a good plan in place for anything you do.
Yeah, and I think I'd asked you asked me about whether I'd come on this and talk about social media, and I think my first thing is what's your angle? What do you want to know? Because again, I wanted to know, I want this to be useful for people, to try and help people if we can, and so that's why. I mean, you talked about UK, US. So I've some of the big ones, if you like, that I follow at the moment. You got like Field Sports Channel, like 357k, so quite big. Rack and Load, 62.5k. Talking about platforms, actually, that reminds me. So Rack and Load has got an app. Don't know if you guys.
It is an app, yeah.
So that's something for so UK shooters. If you're looking for a platform, so this is a plug. You owe me a beer, Neil.
We don't mind a plug.
No, it's you haven't even asked me to do this, but like I say, his platform is kind of it's not regulated by like Meta or any of those other big players. So you can go on there, you can you can talk about shooting sports in a safe environment, basically. So those of you who haven't, go on. He's got an app. It's on. You can download it on iTunes or Android if you've got one of those Android phones. But yeah, you can download it, and then you can. They've got like a feed, so you can put posts on there and chat to people about shooting sports in a safe environment.
I'm a big fan of self-regulated platforms away from the mainstream ones. I mean, I'm a big forum fan. Always have been. A lot of people don't understand why I like forums. As long as the grown-ups are in charge of it and you can regulate it internally, like he'll be doing at Rack and Load, and people will get kicked out of forums for misbehaving or whatever that platform is. We as a shooting community should be looking to things like that, because we've no control over the platforms we're putting all this content on. Hours and hours, days and days of material we're putting on just for it to be taken down on a whim by a bot without ever the opportunity to speak to a human being about why it's gone down. So I'd actually urge people to look at those sorts of platforms, because we're losing our voice, and our ability to communicate with each other on the internet is diminishing every day. UK Varminting for a long time was a place everyone went to talk about stuff. In my personal view, there were certain personalities on there that had too strong a voice on there, and people were just turned away from it. So if you've got those platforms that people are using that are well managed and are a safe place to be and talk about this passion, this thing we love, we've got to try and support these people, and we've got to try and make sure that everyone plays nice. Otherwise, they go And before you know it, we're back to a heavily censored bit of social media from America at the whim of the next American fallout, be it a mass shooting or whatever it might be, or a new president who's crazy. They're all crazy over there anyway. So yeah, support things like Rackaload. I couldn't support that enough.
There, Simon, is that? Wow. Okay.
Right, your dues. You were saying your dues. So go on. Where are we up to next?
So my dues are think about channel sustainability. So we talked about plan, but what I think any success on any social media is a long game. So don't think like don't expect to see quick results. It's kind of what I was going to say. And according to the Tinterweb, it to get to your first sort of 1,000, the average 1,000 subs, if you like, the average doing 1 to 2 posts a week takes about a year. So like I say, it's a slow burn and it's a labour of love. I mean, you mentioned about editing time. I mean, how long do you think it takes to edit? I mean, let's say a 5 minute, well, not just edit. How long do you think it takes to film and edit a 5 or 10 minute sort of review video?
I've not a clue. He'll know though. He does all that nonsense.
Depends what sort of review video you're doing, to be honest. I mean, I do different types of the tabletop ones that I do. I'm researching the product and preparing what I'm going to say on the video. That's maybe an hour or two. The actual filming, if I can do it in one take, is as long as the video because it's a tabletop review. So 10 minutes typically. And then the editing, which I again do all on my iPhone. I say 10 minutes to do the filming, but you've got to set it up, get the lighting right, all of that sort of stuff. So maybe half an hour. The editing may be upwards of an hour for that sort of a review. And then if I'm doing something where I'm standing, talking, facing the camera, and I'm doing some B-roll footage and so on, prep time, maybe a little bit longer, an extra half an hour to an hour. Filming time considerably longer, and then the editing, because you're having to cut in the B-roll footage, takes a bit longer again.
See, I'm no mathematician, but I was just counting on my fingers then, and that I got to about 6 hours then for a 10-minute tabletop production.
Yeah,
that's
something like that.
Safe say that.
Yeah, and if you're doing a match, because obviously we film matches as well, don't we? Then obviously, assuming you can get somebody to film you while you're on your stage, which can sometimes be problematic. Then
anyone?
Then the editing for those sorts of videos can be considerably longer, especially if you're trying to splice in 2 camera angles. So one of you actually shooting and the other one maybe using a GoPro on your hat or a trigger cam or something like that. Yeah, there's a lot of effort goes into it. Yeah.
Like I say, I think you're about right because last Saturday I literally spent the entire day doing filming and then editing and then went to bed. Super exciting life, right? But I mean, my point was, I mean, it's more than that, like 1 minute or 5 minutes of video or whatever, and there's a lot that goes into that. And like I say, if you're doing like so something I like to try to do is a bit of a heads up display, or I'm trying to do a heads up display for like some of those shooting things. So you've got like round count and all that, and like ranges.
That adds a lot of time to the editing. Yeah.
So it's all of that sort of little bits. But yeah, that takes.
And then you get your finished product and you press upload to YouTube, and it takes 3 hours. Because I'm saying to him, why is it taking 3 hours to upload this? He's like, it's 4K, mate. I don't even know what 4K is. He says it's, and I'm sitting there for 2.5 hours. Waiting for this little egg timer to catch up and put it on YouTube. So you literally got a full day from starting producing a 15-minute video, 20-minute video, to it being live on YouTube. You're looking at a full day's work, aren't you?
Pretty much. Yeah. Pretty much.
The way I look at it, I mean, I enjoy doing my YouTube videos because I spent a lot of time watching YouTube videos, whether it was gear reviews or competitions or hunting videos. And I learned a lot from them. Not only are they entertainment, they're a great resource for education. And I really like the idea that other people would maybe watch my videos and get the same sort of, not just entertainment, but education as well from them. And there's a sense of accomplishment in that. So that's why I like doing the YouTube videos. It feels almost like I'm giving something back that I've taken out.
Yeah, exactly. And I think you're right. It's all about, I guess, people are taking their time to watch or listen to your podcast as an example. People are taking the time to listen to it or watch it on YouTube. So I guess the question is, what's in it for them? Why should I take time to listen to this? How's it going to enrich my life?
And a lot of time, people are going to then spend money off the back of what you've told them. They're going to turn around and say, well, actually, based on that review, I'm going to buy this over this. So it is really important. I think it's a really valuable thing that people are doing. If they're not paid to do it and they're giving their honest feedback on these things in a well-produced way, so you can understand the bit of kit you're talking about, showing the intricacies of it, showing why that button shouldn't be there and it should be there. That's the thing that people want, so they can make an informed purchase. And I know you've had it, John, where people have come up to you and said, thanks for doing that video on this because I've bought something. I know a lot with the Vortex stuff. I have people come to me and say, oh yeah, I know that optic. I watched John's video on it. I think that's a really valuable thing for people to be doing in the community. Long may it continue.
Yeah, and there's just something. Sorry, John, go on.
No, I was just going to say. I mean, and before like when I bought my CZ, I looked at like loads of review videos on different like 2-2 bolt actions, and like I say, I made my decision based on, if you like, the criteria of what I wanted, based on like a lot of those reviews. And if you want to learn something, I don't know, something goes wrong on your car, or my car or whatever, first thing I do is I go on YouTube and see if there's a short, like 2-minute video or whatever, something straight to the point and show me how to do what I need to do. So, that's the other thing, is around like valuing people's time, because I think there's a lot of videos, or what frustrates me when I watch some videos is it like all the leading, all the hooks, all the leads, all the, you're going to find out this in a minute, and then like at the end there's like 2 minutes of video in that whole thing that is where you learn whatever it is you wanted to learn, and you're just like, oh, come on, get to the point.
Well, and my final point in it all is just there's something hugely satisfying for me in going through the creative process, and then once you've actually produced the final article and you look back on it and you take the satisfaction from thinking, yeah, I'm happy with that, it came out well, I made that, and it's there hopefully for all time if the powers that be don't take it down and delete it or something. And I'm really looking for, it's like having a photo album. I'm really looking forward to that time where I'm like pipe and slippers.
When you write your book?
When I write my book, I'm going to write a book at some point. But when I'm pipe and slippers and I can't get out with the rifles anymore, my body just won't let me do it anymore. And I'm going to enjoy, I know I'm going to enjoy looking back through
being wet
my
and field at 5 o'clock in the morning.
Look forward to looking back through my Instagram posts, my YouTube videos. It's going to be like a photo album, lots of memories of that, really amazing time during my life, really.
Yeah, 100%.
I'm not crying, you're crying. Right, I'm conscious you gave me a hard stop on this, and you told me we're to my certain time. I'm the only one looking at me watching, keeping track of this circus. I'm like a circus master. What do you need to squeeze in now before we have to knock it on the head? What have we got left?
What did you want to know?
What do you want to tell us?
I will compress my do's and don'ts, if you like. My number 2 would be don't ignore or forget your target audience's interests. So like when you're looking at videos, why are you looking at them? People are watching your videos because they want to find out about, I don't know, precision rifle or shotguns or whatever. But if you start going off topic and doing videos on cars or bikes or something on that channel, different target audience. So I guess kind of it's easier said than done, because like we're all super interested in loads of things, but kind of stay within your swim lane really. Do create a calendar. So that's something I did when I started. I made a content calendar, and that really helped. And I don't know why I stopped doing it, but again, it's not New Year, near the end of year resolution. I'm going to start doing my content calendar again.
Because scheduling, so we've not spoken about, but scheduling is massive. And for anyone out there that's producing content, I know people that will spend 2 or 3 days producing a lot of content, and that'll be then done for a month. They'll schedule one a week to go out, because you've got to use your time sensibly. If you've already got, certainly people that are doing like tabletop reviews, they'll get a load of stuff done and then they'll just leak it out. And and social media does it for you. You can click a button and say, when do you want this posted? So I think calendars and scheduling and being sensible with your time is a really, really important thing.
Yeah, 100%. And like, so post consistently, and don't post everything. You mentioned it, but don't post everything all at once. Because if you put out, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 videos or whatever, all on one day, what are the chances that everybody's going to sit down, have the time to watch all 4 or 5 of those videos? But where if you kind of have a regular schedule of them popping out, then at least they've got more chance of being seen, and people taking the time to do it. Don't overdo it would be my don't. So take breaks from working on your channel, because like I say, prevent burnout, because it can be hard work. So like you say, if you do want to smash a load of videos and editing all in the first week of the month, and then you have the rest of the month kind of chilling, cool. Do something like that. Pay attention to the analytics and the algorithms. So there's loads of feedback and loads of things that you can look at in like the graphs, the algorithms, and the charts and things that all of the social media platforms, they've all got like dashboards and things you can look at to find out how well your post is doing, how people are engaged with it.
And feedback is a word you've not mentioned yet, and it's something I'm really keen to point out, because I know you get a lot of positive feedback, and you can put a lot of effort into these things, and it doesn't get a significant amount of views, or it doesn't have a significant amount of followers. But I think if you get meaningful feedback, even just small amounts, 2 or 3 people coming back to you and saying, do you know what, thank you for the time you've put in doing this, it motivates you more going forwards. Yeah, you've got the analytical feedback saying your product performed this well, but when you get genuine feedback from someone, we've had it with podcasts, haven't we? Well, people said to me, how many followers have you got, or how many subscribers? I don't understand all that nonsense. What I do know is we get messages from people saying, I've just listened to your podcast and it did this or that and this and that. And you might get these jumped up internet warriors that go on your comments and want to try and challenge you on what you're doing, because that's how they think you can engage with people properly. But when people come back to you and say, thank you for producing something, that's what it's all about, mate, for me. We had it before when we did the GBPRA one. People would be contacting us saying, I'm now better informed about sport I knew nothing about, and I'm getting into it. And those people are shooting now, aren't they? People that reached out to us years ago are now shooting on scene. And I don't think we can overlook just how important that feedback is for people. If you're watching products, if you're watching John's stuff and you like it, hey, drop him a comment. But we're all approachable. Drop these people messages and just say, thank you for giving that honest feedback, because otherwise you might have people sitting looking at those little numbers dwindling up and down on Instagram or whatever, and the people are going, I don't think this is really working. So that one-to-one direct feedback, I think, is really important.
Yeah, it is all. It's that engagement, isn't it? If people are, if you're watching something and you benefited from it, then let that person know, hey, that really helped me do this, because 100% it does. It does motivate you. If you know what you're doing is helping other people, then
and let's not kid ourselves. Going out there and amassing Instagram followers isn't difficult. I know people out there who've got 15,000 followers, but they're following 16,500 people. So if you want to look busy on Instagram by collecting followers, there's companies you can pay to buy followers. What you want is that genuine interaction. So I'm a fan of having lower numbers but high interaction. Not having a load of followers that are just bots and people that have liked you because for the wrong reasons. Having a hardcore of genuine interacting people that are genuinely interacting with you, should I say. I think that outweighs any number. And I see loads of people, I have people contact me all the time, can I have some free stuff? And I say, why? I've got loads of followers. And I'm not the most sophisticated when it comes to social media, but I look at what they're saying, and yeah, they've got 7,000-8,000 followers, but they're following twice that. And they've probably got most of those follows from following someone else, if that's how it works. So that genuine interaction. an actual conversation where you're regularly speaking to people. It's one thing I noticed on his YouTubes is all the conversations that are on and taking the time to answer them and talk to them. And yeah, you get the odd person jumping in who wants to see the world burn. But on the whole, that feedback is just so important for this social media communication network that we've got to work. That sounds cheesy, but it's right.
No, that's true. And if somebody's taken the time and effort to write a comment to you, then I don't know of any like creators worth their salt that wouldn't reply back.
Absolutely.
Even if I don't agree with them, anyway, that's another conversation. Mate, I think we'll agree that interaction is what it's all about. Just posting videos up and getting high numbers and not actually speaking to a human being defeats the object of why we communicate in the first place. So that's what's good to see about you, Christian, and a few other people I work with who have that real healthy interaction. And let's not kid ourselves, manufacturers and people see that as well. They see, I'm famous for having a few beers and shouting at people from the industry about having the right people representing your brand or whatever you're doing or promoting your brand. Because when you engage with those people, you don't just get someone saying, well, I use this because it's the best and everything else is rubbish, which unfortunately, there are people in this industry making a living by just destroying other people's brands, being aggressive and ruthless and not being rounded and not being nice people to speak to. And I think the more good people we've got in social media promoting shooting sports in the UK and all the facets of it, the more welcome it is to new people getting into the sport and manufacturers realising these are good people, we need to invest in this. These are grown-ups who can deal with products in a grown-up way as opposed to just kids who talk about Minecraft and how their chassis is better than someone else's and nothing else matters in the world. Anyway, that's enough for me. That's been moaned and I've not done a moan. I've not mentioned Alex White either in this whole thing yet, and I have to mention Alex White in every single podcast. So Alex, if you're either listening, handsome, I've got you in this one as well. Right, John, one, your last few bits before we hit a hard stop.
I don't know how I can follow that.
No one can follow Alex White. It's a fact. It's just one of those things.
Don't get discouraged would be my thing. If things aren't happening the way that you want them to or as quick as you want them to, don't get discouraged. Keep on doing what you're doing, and you will gain traction. It will happen for you, but it just won't happen instantly. So it's just one of those things. Just kind of keep at it. I said about don't publishing all the videos at the same time. Do follow the community guidelines and tag your videos honestly. Again, that's the other one. But yeah, so one thing with tagging and as well, some people try tagging like everything, and I know I usually have a lot of tags in my posts, so sorry guys, but they are all relevant to that post. Don't if you don't have any pictures of kittens in your post, don't tag hashtag kittens. Do engage with your audience, and that was my last one there. But we've already mentioned that. So like say if people take the time to engage with you and talk to you and let you know how they feel, or how things you can do to improve, take that feedback on board.
And I think an important thing with that is make yourself publicly accessible to an extent as well. So as well as producing things from the safety of your home or your range or whatever, if you're out there and you get to these shows, come and engage with people. If you're running a social media channel, and we know most of the ones, you've mentioned most of the ones, and we're fortunate that most of the social media channels within our sphere, we know quite well. But like you can find John on a Vortex stand near you at one of the shows. Go and talk to him about social media. These are human beings. Let's get out amongst them and have physical conversations with them about stuff and grow that community spirit. As opposed to feeling like some people are shy. I get that. Not everyone's gob shy like me, but anyone that's producing this sort of content needs to be out within the community, having a beer with us at shows and coming and shooting with us and all that sort of stuff, and make it more than just one or two dimensional. Make it a full rounded thing where people say, actually, Joe, I've met him. He's a really nice guy. I can think of 3 or 4 people on social media who are really busy. I've never seen them in the flesh, and I'm at all the shows and all that sort of stuff. And it'd be nice just to meet him, shake their hand and say, actually, do you know what? I've met him in real life. He's a really nice guy. Anyway.
Oh, that's cool. Great. Yeah, no, so that was that was my list.
Good. And we're exactly on your hard stop, give or take a short while. We could do this, we could go on forever, couldn't we? And mate, it's been really useful because there's a lot of people out there that are trying to utilise social media for promoting their own endeavours, be it financial or promoting themselves as a sports person or an athlete or whatever. And I think there's people that have probably got lots of questions, and the danger is they either find out the hard way or they listen to someone like you who's been at it for 4 or 5 years, plugging away, learning the lessons from failures and success, and they might be able to save themselves a bit of heartache. And equally, they might reach out to you and say, do you know what, John? I listened to the podcast, fantastic. Can I just ask you what you meant about that? And we couldn't encourage that more. You're an approachable guy. Long may it continue. So it's been really, really good.
Yeah, so if you're already following John on social media, don't be afraid to reach out to him. He's a really nice guy, and he will always do his best to help you with any queries that you've got.
Kittens. Yeah.
If you're not following John, how can people find you?
So I'm on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. So if you would search at John Cresswell UK, that will find me. But yeah, so I'm on.
Excellent. So give John Cresswell UK a follow.
Thank you so much. Like I say, it's great to hear you, see you sort of interacting the channel, and like I say, when people, if you comment on my videos and things, I'm more than happy to have a conversation with you on there. So,
excellent,
good stuff. Yeah, it's been great, mate. Thank you very much. You want the final word? Yours are the final word, don't you?
Be good to one another. We'll see you on the next show.
Yeah, what he said. Thanks for listening, folks. Look after yourself. Stay
Good night.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
And we're done. We'll leave it running because we'll record it in a minute. That was good, that, mate. The technology held up for us, which is nice.
Stop the recording, though. Less editing for me. John will tell you that's important.
Press the record button.
Stop recording.
I'm going for a while.